Elon Musk says that you have to work 40 hours in the office.
Yeah.
Shawn, how many hours a week do you work?
60 probably.
I was going to guess 80 to be honest.
Probably
so like,
more.
oh my gosh,
I'm going
you have
like,
to work 40 hours?
Oh no. I feel so bad for you.
40 hours would be like a vacation.
Elon, if you're watching this, I know he's a watcher of this program.
Watched last week's episode.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what Gen Z and Millennials are looking for in real estate. And when we're talking about what Gen Zers are looking for when buying houses, I just feel so old.
Yeah,
so
you should.
I
getting
can't
up there, man.
imagine how you feel when we're talking about Gen Zers.
You are correct, my friend.
The next topic we're going to talk about are three incredibly overvalued real estate markets, according to one real estate columnist. And then, Shawn, we're going to finish it up with a community that I just discovered that has blown my mind. I haven't shared this community with you, so you have no information about it.
None.
But I was literally speechless, and I was doing the Google Map view and trying to crawl through the streets and explore every single street. It's in Florida. It's not some, unknown area, but
awesome.
I'm excited to get into that with you. But let's start with an article from GoBankingRates.com that says this is what Gen Z and Millennials are looking for in real estate. Starting it off, Millennials understand their first home may not be their dream home. In the 1980s, 1990s, I think people were buying houses with the thought process of 30-year mortgage. I'm going to be here for 30 years. Yeah. Now, it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that millennials, my contemporaries, my amigos, my friends, are buying houses with a 3-year goal in mind, a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's really smart. Honestly, I don't think most people on this kind of day and age are 30-year people, right? 30-year homes. And especially when you're young and you're buying your first place, you know that you're going to, build a family, lives change, jobs change, everything else. So I think as your first property purchase when you're younger, you have to start thinking, all right, this is probably a 5 to 7 year thing. My first property when I purchased, I was in my late 20s and I lived there for 3 years and I was looking to sell it after that. But however, the market dropped, so you have to be careful with that. But I think what would happen in there is interest rates, right? Now we're all talking about interest rates and how they're all rising and everybody's focused on that 30-year fixed rate. Because it gives you the most security. It's like, I can stay here for 30 years. But reality is, if you would look at the ARMs and you would look at a 5-year ARM, 7-year ARM, 10-year ARM, those are going to be trading a lot less than a 30-year fixed. So you could get a rate, right now the rates are in the 5s. You might be able to get one in the 4s instead. And just knowing that your plan is, hey, I'll be here 5 years, 7 years max, then look at those shorter term loans.
When you're talking with your millennial home buyers, and I guess now Gen Z home buyers, what are your millennial home buyers saying when you ask them, how long do you plan on being in this house for?
I mean, most of them are, that age group is mainly looking at condos in this area. And so their thing is, I just got this new job and I'm going to be here for probably 3 to 5 years.
You just helped some out in Leesburg, right?
In Leesburg, yeah. He's probably
my boy Matt.
Oh yeah. So they've already owned one, so this is their second purchase. They went with the 30-year fix because what they're buying now is that single family home.
So are they like putting down roots and saying like this is the house, like here's where? Well, I guess that makes sense if they've gone the condo route and they've kind of hung out there, they've made some money, they've saved some money, and then they're like, all right, this is the neighborhood, this is the house, this is the game plan.
Yeah, I think it's all between first purchase, second purchase, third purchase, right? So some of these Gen Zers are, they could have started early in their process. Others might have bought later in their lifespan, right? So I think if it's your second purchase, you're probably looking more towards that, hey, the plan is anyways, this is where I'm going to be for a while. And I can tell you from experience, when I bought my first house after my condos that I bought my first house and I'm like, this is going to be a longer term thing. And guess what? 6 years later, I was selling that thing. So truthfully, your plans change quickly and often, and the likelihood of you actually getting to that 30 years is probably pretty slim.
And we'll go through some of these points because they're pretty basic. Gen Zers have less buying power than millennials. Agreed.
Yeah.
Both generations want similar style homes, and millennials want ease in a home. So similar style homes, think like open kitchens, technology, neutral, clean colors, and then ease in a house. They don't want to have, there's this guy, Scotty, he fixes cars on YouTube, and he calls like every car like an endless money pit. Millennials, Gen Zers, they don't want to have an endless money pit for a house. They want ease of access and ease of maintenance without the headache for houses.
Totally makes sense. And that's what I tell my sellers when they're putting their house on the market. Who's going to be your purchaser, especially in the condos along this area? And this is kind of focused on the condos because that's the most affordable segment in our market right now. And so when I'm talking to them about, all right, what you should do, I'm always like, listen, the purchaser of this 1-bedroom or a small 2-bedroom unit is probably going to be somebody that's younger. And this younger generation doesn't want to do anything. They want to move in and be clean. And another thing that I equate this to is they're probably coming from a rental in the area. And we know the rentals in this area are high priced and they're nice, right? So if your expectations are way up here and they're coming into a condo that's way down here, it's not going to sell. They're not going to want it. So you have to do these upgrades. You have to make sure the paint is good. Move in ready. They don't want to do anything.
Gen Z values aesthetics. Think like Instagram, think like Snapchat, think like picture perfect, ready to go. Both generations care about location for obvious reasons. What I think is interesting, both generations value going green. So like going green is cool now. Like caring about the environment is cool. And I just saw a clip from 21 Jump Street, the remake with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, where they're like making fun. They go back to high school and like some kid is like talking about recycling and they're like making fun of them. And Dave Franco's like, what? You don't care about the environment? Like that's messed up. And like all the young kids are now like very like green friendly. Yeah. So definitely value going green. And like we touched on, both generations are willing to move. This isn't something where, you're in the big city for 30 years. They could be interested in that second city or even that tertiary city that might be 20 or 30 minutes outside of that main city.
Yeah, I think roots, aren't as deep, right? So from my generation and the generations before, they built deep roots, where this is more of like, hey, I'm willing to go wherever. It's so much easier to move to different spots now, especially with work how it is right now. Travel's much easier. It's more affordable. And so I think that they're willing to try to move to different areas. And what I tell my nieces and nephews, I'm like, listen, move to where you want to be first and then find your job, right? Find out where you want to live. Where is it that your life needs to take place, and then find your job and then buy your house. That's one thing that I didn't do. I just kind of moved and went wherever, and it wasn't really where I wanted to be. And, now I'm in Arlington. I love it. I'm glad I'm here. But it took me a while. Right. So, and another thing, going green, I looked into solar for my house. Mm-hmm. So when you walk into like BJ's has these people in there right now that are just like, they'll come in, hey, can I talk to you about this solar program? I'm like, no thanks. But after the third time, I'm like, all right, just tell me about it, because I'm a real estate agent. I want to know about this stuff. So it only took a couple minutes. The girl was nice, whatever. I signed up through her app, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go through this process and see how it is. And it was actually pretty seamless and easy. And the funny thing is, I didn't have to talk. Like, the guy calls me the next day to go through what he's found. I put my address in there, and he's like, do you have some big trees by you, or is there some big trees? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, my neighbor, I don't have any on my property, but like my neighbors have some big trees. And he's like, yeah, unfortunately, you're not getting enough sunlight to make solar make a difference.
Wow.
So I was really surprised to hear that.
How do they know that?
Google Maps. That's all they're doing. They're going straight onto Google Maps, and they're finding out where the shadows are, whatever. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So they don't even have to come to your property. All they do is plug in your address. Boom. They can tell you how much sunlight you're getting and whether it's worth it. Pretty cool.
So now those saleswomen won't harass you. She's gonna look at you. There's like,
dude.
Look at that peasant with all those trees.
Yeah, I'm the tree guy. Yeah.
He's the tree guy. But what I'm getting out of this, as to like put a bow on it, is like, these people, they don't have kids, right? This is a very like, all right, so millennials, I think the oldest millennials are 41 now. So clearly millennials do have kids, but for the most part, this article is geared towards those millennials that don't have kids. And the second thing is that move-in ready, ease of access. So like minor renovation, I don't want to call it renovation, like minor upgrades, minor updates to your house will extremely be beneficial for especially the most likely millennial buyers, but also the Gen Z buyers.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on to the next article. This comes to us from the Motley Fool. I wouldn't dare buy real estate in these 3 incredibly overvalued markets, Shawn.
Interesting, yeah.
There are 3 markets that are heating up, but I am staying very far away, says the author Liz Broomer Smith. So she goes through 3 different markets. The first one is Miami, Florida. And I feel like Miami always comes up on these types of lists of like overvalued. This is way too much. But what we saw during 2020, during the pandemic, during the time when people from New York were sitting at home, there's snow on the ground, and they're like, what am I doing here? Why aren't I hanging out in palm trees? We just saw the Miami real estate market see record levels of appreciation. And so, Shawn, that is the first city on the list. It should come as no surprise.
Yeah, I mean, they've seen humongous. I was just reading an article this morning, like 10% in the last whatever, right? So, I mean, they have gone up a ton, but we've also seen them drop dramatically in the past, right? When things drop, when values drop, Miami drops.
Weren't we going to go half on a condo in Miami at some point?
We will when it drops.
We were thinking about it. When it drops again.
Yeah, when it drops. We're just waiting for it to drop.
It'll drop, and then it'll be overvalued again.
Exactly.
And then it'll drop again.
Yeah, so I mean, it does these, Miami does these big dips and big rises. And one of the reasons when we were talking about it before was because of the foreign investors, right? The foreign investors weren't allowed to buy at that time, and that was a big segment of that market. But I agree. It's just a different kind of market this time, because who bought there and who is buying there in Miami? It's like you said, it's the New York buyer. It's the people that are so tired of the snow, and they're like, well, I don't have to go back to work anymore. Then why wouldn't I buy this and just live there and work remotely? However, we're seeing Elon Musk make headlines to say, if you're not going back to Tesla headquarters, you can look for another job. And I think there will be other companies following suit. And so what's that going to do to those people? Either they're going to say, well, peace out, I'm staying where I wanted to live forever, or we could see those markets fall.
Elon Musk says that you have to work 40 hours in the office.
Yeah.
Shawn, how many hours a week do you work?
60 probably.
60. I was going to guess 80, to be honest.
Probably
so like,
more.
Oh my gosh,
I'm going
you have to work 40 hours?
Oh no, I feel so bad for you.
40 hours would be like a vacation.
I can't imagine having a normal job. Oh, 9 to 5 from 9 to 5 weekdays and have the weekends off. That would be amazing to me.
He gets put in the news cycle and gets spun and gets spit out the other side.
It's ridiculous.
So the next city on the Shawn and I both own Teslas. So
yeah,
I feel like we should disclose that information.
We like Teslas. I mean, we're owners of them. We enjoy them.
I'm thinking about selling all of my Tesla stock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just bought it.
It's not a lot, but it's not a little either.
I only own a few shares, but I bought it when it dipped. I haven't looked at it in the last couple of weeks, but I know it dipped. And when it was over 1,000, it dropped to 700 and I bought it.
And I'm thinking about selling not because I think the stock is going to go down, but I haven't really taken gains from it.
Yeah.
I've taken maybe a couple $1,000s worth of gains. And then I might want to deploy that cash somewhere else.
I mean, smart, diversify, go after the things that you think are up and coming,
Yeah.
I mean, Tesla's been here for a long time. It's like, all right, well, he has to be able to make sales happen. I think, you know what, Elon, if you're watching this, I know he's a watcher of this program.
Watched last week's episode.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Seriously, two things to consider. One is an SUV. I mean, an SUV that is not the X, right? No, it's got to be a little bit bigger.
So you want bigger
SUV, and almost like there's a car called the Kia Carnival, right? It's a minivan-esque style thing, right? But you need a family style vehicle that is easy to get into. My wife does not like the
Falcon Wings.
Falcon Wings. I love them, but she's like, oh, that's just stupid, whatever. Anyways, I think that.
So you think Tesla should add a minivan to their lineup?
Well, maybe a minivan. Yeah, maybe not a minivan. We'll call it like a Tesla,
a cyber van.
Yeah, exactly, the cyber van or something. It's got to be something that the family can get in and it's accessible. But the other thing is just a normal looking SUV, like the X. Granted, I haven't been in one, but like a little more cargo space in the back.
I'm so confused. More boxy. They have an SUV. You haven't
but
been
it's too expensive, man.
Okay, so now we're getting to the root of it.
I have been in it. Now, here's the thing.
Have you driven it?
I have not driven
Have you and your wife been in the car and driven it?
No, but I don't want to spend $120,000 on it either.
Spend $200 and rent it on Turo and see how you like it.
I could do that. Hey, but that brings up. Sorry, we're kind of going off
now it's a cost
tangent.
thing.
Well, it's a cost thing, but if it was the right vehicle, like. What's the one stock that I invested in that dropped like a stone? Rivian. Rivian's trucks look really cool, right?
Yeah,
they look great.
Trucks,
but now they're just having problems. They also have an SUV that's like, a normal looking thing.
Anyways, think the electric cars may be like when the Model T came out, there were like a million car companies, and now you're starting to see like Rivian and Neo and all these other ones. Dude, my Neo stock is a disaster.
Yeah,
it's gone down so much.
Really,
and I'm like, these people can't
my
figure
Rivians.
it out.
It's like crypto right now, right? Crypto's taking a tank.
So Shawn wants a Tesla minivan. Next city is Boise, Idaho. I don't necessarily agree like with this list. Boise, Idaho has been in the top 5 fastest growing real estate markets for several years running. And when we talk about the hottest real estate markets in the nation in terms of sales appreciation, transaction volume, usually the cities that come to mind are Tampa, Salt Lake City has now popped up, and Phoenix. And now Boise. Those are kind of the trendy new. Phoenix has kind of been there for a couple years now.
Yeah.
But Boise, Idaho, top 5 fastest growing real estate market. However, there was a study done recently by the Florida Atlantic College of Business, that says that Boise is the most overvalued city in the United States, with estimates showing current values are up as much as 72% over the expected price. I don't know what the expected price is, but I've never been to Boise. I've heard amazing things. And so long as you have people in California with California cash coming to Boise and discovering that they can hang out there for half the year or a third of the year or a month or a couple weekends, I think Boise is going to continue on this rampant pace to be an incredible place to live.
Yeah, you've got to look at why people are buying there. Why is it that people are going to Boise? One is to evade the California taxes, right? I'm assuming the expensive, and so naturally that's going to push up the values. I don't know what Boise has other than, hey, I have no idea what Boise has.
It has hype. It has hype, Shawn.
Right. And so what is it that is driving people there? Is there industry there? Is there a new company that's moved there? No, right?
No.
It's just
you go for the outdoors.
You go for the outdoors.
It's beautiful there.
It is, yeah.
There's mountains, I think.
Go there.
Let's go there.
But that's the thing is, like, when will that fade? And that's why that's on the list, because it's like, what pushed this up? Well, there's no reason other than it's the California people with California cash saying, hey, I want to go hike and I want to, get rid of these big taxes that we're using. So I can see why that would be overvalued. And yeah, you just got to be careful. Who knows?
Third city on the list is Austin, Texas. Austin is one of these like hot new city. It's not new, but like a hot city where a lot of millennials are hyping it up, going to it, South by Southwest. However, even though we've seen a 21% increase in residents from 2010 to 2020, investor attention is pushing people out as investors are coming in, scooping up properties, renting them out. And according to that same Florida Atlantic study, the study says that Austin may be overvalued as much as 67%. And Austin, I've never been. Have you been?
I have not, no.
It seems like one of these cities where people move to, they hang out for a few years, and then maybe they fall in love, but maybe they move out. Like I had a bunch of buddies move out to San Diego, and some hung out there, and then eventually like half of them kind of moved back home. But Austin strikes me as that as well.
That happens a lot, and that's a really good point, actually. These younger cities where it's cool and hip and fun to be when you're in your 20s and early 30s, then you realize, well, I don't need this anymore. I'm looking for something more stable or more, I don't know, grown up or something. I don't know. I've never been to Austin, so I'm not saying that it's, but, these are the hip spots, like you're saying. Austin, Texas, San Diego.
But this is a city that does have the jobs, right? They do have the good jobs. They do have the culture, if you want to call it that. They do have like incredible food.
Yeah, and that's why another good point where I don't feel like this one would fall as quickly as Boise, Idaho, because this Austin, Texas has something bigger there, I believe.
And people are moving to Texas. People like Texas now.
Right.
I don't know if they like it in the summer, but people like Texas.
Well, we don't like it here in the summer.
So
either, like today.
The author goes on to say, what would I buy? What would the author buy? And she says, well, I'd rather put my money in a more affordable market with less competition that can generate greater returns. Wouldn't we all want to do that? Yeah. So she doesn't name any of these cities. And she's like, well, I wouldn't buy in these cities, but doesn't mean I wouldn't invest in a REIT, a real estate investment trust that invests there. And so I was like, okay. She's going to go and list these 3 cities. She's not going to name any cities she would. So let me do a little digging and see where she lives, Shawn. Where do you think
Matt.
Where do you think the author lives?
I would say she lives probably in New York City.
She lives nowhere. She lives in an RV and she's traveling around the country and around the world. I looked her up, watched one of her YouTube videos where she's actually just in Miami. And I was like, that's kind of ironic. But it's actually a really good YouTube video, and she's very likable, and she has really good energy. So that's cool.
You don't dislike her then?
No, she puts out really good content. I watched one video. I liked the video. It was entertaining. I think they just took an RV to Iceland. I don't know how you do that. Maybe you put it on a ship. Maybe you put it in the plane. Maybe
you rent one over there.
Maybe I didn't read the whole thing, and that they're not in an RV there, but they're in an RV, and they were down in Miami, 2 weeks before this article came out. So
pretty cool.
You can experience Miami without buying into apparently one of the most overpriced cities in the United States.
Yeah, well, what I'll say is I think most of America is overpriced at this point. Think about it. We have seen huge increases everywhere. But 20%, 30%.
What does that even mean? What if they said, Shawn, Westover is overpriced or Terra Lee Heights is overpriced, and you're about to buy there, and you're,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Why does it matter?
It doesn't, and it shouldn't matter if you are buying for your home, right? It shouldn't matter because it's going to go up, it's going to come down, it's going to go back up again in the 3 years that you're living there. No, in the 25 years or whatever that you're going to live there, the market's going to change. So don't be scared about that. I think buy when your life tells you to buy what you need to make your life better. Because if you don't make that step, then you're never going to make that step. You're just putting your life on hold, right? Buy, have fun, live life because it's quick, it's short.
Live.
But I think most things are probably inflated in price because we've seen such a big demand for housing. Now, will it ever change? I don't know. I don't know. So we might not ever see it fall. We'll see it ebb and flow a little bit, but it's kind of unprecedented times, and we're seeing the market pull back a little bit, but it's not crazy. It's not scary.
Yeah, I think if you want to buy, you should buy, and if you don't.
Yeah, I'm seriously going to buy probably 2 more properties in the next 5 years.
Let's go.
Right? And I'm going to buy when it makes sense for me financially, and these are going to probably be investment properties or part-time houses,
When does that Florida investment property make sense?
When it drops,
soon.
Buddy.
Soon. Well, speaking of Florida properties, I have just discovered at 32 years old a new community, Shawn. I'd like to show it to you. And when I say new, it's new for me. Maybe you're watching this, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put up Google Maps of what we're looking at. But Shawn, I'm going outside New Smyrna Beach, and I'm gonna zoom in right here. Tell me what you see.
I see an airport.
Okay. What else do you see?
Houses around that airport.
So, Shawn, this is a fly-in community. Have you ever heard of a fly-in community?
I actually have.
Tell me what you know about this, and then I need to talk for like 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah. This is very cool. So my sister lives in Georgia, and there is a community not too far from her where every house has an airplane hangar. Like they have their own planes, and they have just this little strip, and they just fly these little tiny planes. But like, it was the coolest thing. I was like, no way, this is amazing. And I found out about this a few years ago, but it was the only one that I've ever heard of. So now Matt has discovered something like this in Florida, which, I mean, this is way further advanced by looking at this. This is a for real airstrip, like 2 airstrips.
This is Fly in Spruce Creek, arguably the most prestigious and popular fly-in community in the United States. Essentially what it is, gated community. You have a bunch of houses. Think about a golf course community, but instead of the golf course being in the middle, you have an airstrip being in the middle. And instead of having like the same house, you know, lining the fairways and whatnot, you have what's known as hangar houses, Shawn. You have your house, and then your garage is massive. You want to know why it's massive? So you can put your plane in your garage and any other toys that you want. And if I'm looking at this correctly, Shawn, it looks to me that you have your hangar here, you have the street here, and then you have
is big enough
runway
for your plane.
So are you
Amazing.
telling me that you take your Cessna out of your driveway, you make a left turn, and you're on the runway, and then you can go anywhere you want? Is this not the most incredible thing you've ever seen?
Completely amazing. And this is what people want, right? Like, this is something so unique and so cool that people have to be like, I have to live here. I have to buy here.
Like, if you're a pilot, you're a very passionate individual to begin with, and then you love your Cessna or whatever you have, and then having the ability to go anywhere at a drop of a hat. I don't know how. Like, I don't have a plane. I'm not a pilot. I don't know how you get, you know, this on the schedule, but it looks like you just pull around the plane and take off. And Shawn, I mentioned the golf course earlier. We have the airstrip. We have, you know, a strip of trees, you know, 5 rows deep. You have houses, you have a street, and then you have the fairway. So you have the country club. Looks like they have pickleball too. You have the country club, pickleball, golf course, and airstrip.
And they need a lake. So, I mean, that would put it off. I see a little body of water right there.
I mean, it's Florida. We have
thing. Yeah, we've got a couple.
Some runoffs. I mean,
So
Florida, there's lakes everywhere.
It looks like some of the now the more expensive properties would be where you can actually pull your airplane out onto those things, right? So you're going to pay a premium. This is so cool. Pay a premium for the airplane houses or the houses that you can pull out like that. But then they have other hangars right by that airport area that you could park as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's kind of like community hangars.
Yeah.
So
cool.
if you can't park your plane at your own hangar, if your house doesn't have the hangar, then you have another place to park it. Prices start as low as you know, you can buy a lot and build your own house for about $400,000. You buy the land for about $400,000. You can get a house for about $700,000 or so. And then like the really, really nice houses, you know, start around $2 million with the most, you know, prestigious house. And this is how I found out about the property on Realtor.com. 1720 Skyhawk Court, 7 beds, 11 bathrooms, 1,500 square feet.
15,000 square feet.
15,000 square feet. Numbers are hard. Wow. 6.25 million. It has its own pond, and of course, it has its own pool and airplane hangar.
Looks amazing. Amazing. So this is Port Orange, Florida, just outside of New Smyrna Beach. Such a cool idea and cool concept. We should do like, you got to check this out.
I was shocked. Like I'm still in I didn't know that this existed, and I am in real estate like as my full-time job.
Wouldn't it be cool to specialize in that neighborhood? Now, Matt's going to go get his pilot's license. Matt's out of here, man.
No, I mean, I'm going through the 18 holes. It looks like you got some good holes out there.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing, man. You live somewhere else. Now, did it say anything like this is more of like a transient neighborhood, or is this like people's roots that've been here for a while?
It was like, this is where you want to be if you want to take off at a moment's notice and have, you know, room to store your
man.
your plane.
Cool concept.
Found the pickleball courts right there. We're in business.
Oh yeah,
right over here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you ever been in a Cessna?
No, I might pee my pants.
Yeah, I've been in one a couple times. My buddy Greg took me up. He's a pilot. He took me out of I think Fredericksburg Airport, and man, it's literally like you're on a kite. You know, that thing is just bouncing around. It looks like you're flying nice and smooth up there, but man, you're bouncing around. And then I did one in Hawaii, over the water. It was beautiful, but I was really hungover, and it was not a good scene.
Yeah, hungover and being on a Cessna is not a...
That was in my younger years.
Oh, you're still in your younger years.
You're right.
Some of
Thank
the
you, buddy.
street names are Taxiway Delta, Taxiway Echo, Taxiway Romeo.
My Sky Aircraft.
This person even has
They have a tennis court.
Tennis court in their backyard.
Such a cool concept.
Like, I didn't know it was possible to have a private airstrip.
Yeah, and I wonder how that works. It's like, I mean, you have to plan your flight plan and you have to register it somehow. I don't know how that all works, but it's like, is there a person running the airport, or like how does it work?
If you made it this far to buy in there, that'll be the least of the
What
problems.
are HOA fees? Does it say
not
anything
bad?
about that?
So for the $6 million house, it was $3,200 a year.
Oh wow!
I think you may have to pay to join the country club, but it's not some aggressive amount.
Very cool.
Yeah,
good find, Matt.
So if you're interested in a hangar home,
call Matt Leighton.
Call me, and I can refer you to an amazing agent down in Florida, and we can get you situated, and then we can go see the property, and you can take me up in your Cessna, and I may or may not. I'll use the facilities before the flight, so there's
I think you'll be okay.
No accidents, and yeah, we'll have a day.
I love it, man.
All right, guys. Well, that'll just about do it for another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. If you made it this far, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.